Hey all, it's Hamza and Angela here from the AI Furnace. We're here today with Vita Mallela, co-founder and CEO of Flock AI. Flock is a platform for AI fashion models that can realistically wear any brand's clothes, makeup, and more, cutting costs and production time for fashion and retail companies to market their products. Welcome to the show, Vita.
Hi, Hamza. Hi, Angela. Thank you for having me.
It's good
Thanks
to
so
have
much.
you. So super excited to jump in. So we'll start off with a few fun teaser questions. I'll let Angela open up with that before we get into the main.
Yeah, Vita, could you share more about like where you were born and raised and like what you were like as a child? Like so curious to hear if you were like entrepreneurial from the start or something that kind of came up later in life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually born in India. I'm from South India, from Hyderabad. Lived there until I was 5, and then a little bit of a nomad, I guess. So we originally moved into Austin, Texas. We're there for a couple years, then Minnesota for a bit,
Oh
then Virginia.
wow.
Yeah, and then I went to school in St. Louis. Then New York after that for work, and then Philly for a bit. So moved around a lot, and
Wow.
I think that really contributed to my personality too. I'm very adaptable. I work well in a bunch of different situations, meeting new people, being in different environments, and I think that's something that's definitely come into play, right, in the current role that I'm in. In terms of how I was as a kid, uh, creative is what my parents would say. Like I was
So were
always
you like an artist? Were you like the
yeah.
artist type?
Like I used to be in different art classes, and then I would also be like making little clothes for my Barbies.
Oh
I
wow.
Even when I was younger, like in undergrad, I wanted to start a skincare kind of marketplace, sourcing different brands from India that you couldn't find here, because I'd see my mom using brands, right, that she
Yeah.
would ask family members to ship over and stuff. So I think I've always enjoyed that mix of creative and analytical, and enjoyed being able to take decisions on my own and see the impact of it. So definitely have played well into the role that I'm in right now.
That's so
That's
cool.
amazing.
So was Flock like your first business ever, or like I know you just mentioned like
Yeah.
a marketplace. Like what was like the first thing that you started?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of institutional backing and kind of that level of like development of the product, Flock is definitely first time founder, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of mini projects, right? Before that skincare marketplace, there was another one for like artisan handbags. I built another marketplace for a nonprofit that I worked with. So always in the retail e-com space, as you can see. But I think having been in those situations and having been forced to wear a lot of hats, right, when I was
Yeah.
working on those previous ideas, definitely helped, right? So I'm everything now, right? I'm the salesperson, I am the graphic designer, I'm a marketer, I'm everything. So that's definitely played well into building certain skill sets, ways of thinking, right? That's helped out with Flock now.
Yeah.
Definitely the biggest kind of go to market kind of product that I've been a part of.
Yeah. I can
What
definitely
sort
see the New York vibes in you. You're like a little everything, like fashion, like commerce, like kind of going around, like thinking about beauty across like multiple countries and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely see that
yeah, where
in
did
you a
that
bit.
passion come from when it comes to consumer and like retail and stuff like that?
I don't so even since undergrad, right? That was just where I was drawn to. So a lot of what I studied was marketing classes that I would take, art history, psychology, everything that I found myself drawn to was in that space, right? If you put me in finance, I took it to get my business degree and that's it. Like I was like, get me in and out of that class, right? So this is just the area that I thrived in, that I did well in, and that interested me. And when we did, case studies around retail consumer companies in undergrad, right? Or when I did my internships at those companies, it like helped me thrive, right? This is where I felt like I was making an impact. I got excited by the work, and despite maybe a lot of other friends going into banking or consulting, this was just the path that I I couldn't really veer from. So it's just that nice mix of how my brain works, of the creative and analytical, and being able to do both in an area like this.
Yeah, no, that's amazing that you managed to find that niche where you are right now, but based on where your kind of interests are in the first place, right? Not a lot of people get to do that, so that's cool. And when it comes to that space, like, are there any big like retail companies that you think are doing crazy stuff in AI that you really respect, that you're seeing right now, out of curiosity?
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear this.
I mean, I'm going to shout out a previous, retailer that I worked with, just because I've seen it, right? And I think there is this perception around that retailer as maybe being slow or a little bit, traditional, but it's actually Walmart. They surprisingly, anywhere that they can put AI in, right? Consumer facing back-end operations, they are digging in deep. So they actually have built their own AI language platform, similar to like ChatGPT, right? But trained on like decades of Walmart data that can understand, like all this retail information. They were doing all these major initiatives when I was there to take that, right, and be able to supplement millions of products with better, descriptions and information, which will help both the merchandising team and the consumer experience. So when you go search for certain content, right, or you're searching more conversationally or based on an inspiration, it actually helps you pull in more products now. So they do a lot of stuff like that. I think they've incorporated in virtual try-on now, VR, things like this. So it's been really interesting when I worked at Walmart just to see the amount of tech adoption that was there.
That's amazing. I feel like that's really good advice for the founders who are listening, because I think if Walmart is willing to try all of these new types of technologies and tools, they're a good kind of target to go after.
Yes. We'll acquire you maybe too. So definitely.
Okay, cool. So should we get into the main questions? So starting off with the most simple one, what is Flock AI and what problem are you solving?
Yeah, and Hamza, you did a great job, kind of summarizing earlier, right, about Flock. But basically, we are the Gen AI powered visual commerce partner for fashion and beauty brands. We're enabling them to create better performing content with lower cost and faster turnaround, basically. So right now, when you think about the traditional photo shoot process, which I was a part of for years, right? Because I worked at Bloomingdale's, I did photo shoot ops when I was there. I saw this and experienced this. It is physically, it is costly, it is time consuming, right? To bring the people, the samples of the products, everyone into one place, have a limited time to shoot in. And in the end, you finally get a limited amount of content, right? There's simply no way to be able to create content across the variety of skin tones, ages, body shapes, lifestyle situations, ways of styling the product, right? In one photo shoot. So that is really what we take away with Flock. We take that physical manual effort and make it possible to create on-brand customized imagery, but now with a couple clicks of a button. And your creative team, that creative human, is at the center of what Flock offers and does. So none of that control goes away. From top to bottom of an image, that creative input, your brand guidelines, your brand DNA is so essential. But now you're able to execute on your creative vision without any physical constraints, without any budget constraints too.
And how, this is just like being more curious about the product. But how does it help with like higher performance? So you mentioned like it is like replacing like a physical like photo shoot. Like how is what you're doing like having a higher hit rate, for example?
Yep. So a really good example is one of the brands that we work with, right? They were using vendor provided images that did not have their brand aesthetic for them, right? They had a bunch of kind of jumbled backgrounds, lighting. Sometimes the heads were cut off of the models, all of this going on.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And being able to come to Flock, build a brand DNA, right? Of what is an image for my brand and what constitutes that brand DNA, and then create out images that consistently have, right, those elements. It led to significant sell-through and conversion rate, right? Especially when they had client images before compared to when they were able to put vendor images before compared to when they were able to put our Flock images. Some of the products sold through versus when they were sitting in the warehouse for 90 plus days before, right? Just kind of sitting with excess inventory. We were able to get them to market significantly faster, 2-week turnaround to get images shot and live on site versus the weeks to months that we used to have to deal with when I was at retail.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that the turnaround was that was that slow with like a physical shoot. Is it because of like you need to like plan the photo shoot, like get the models in, and then like there's like an entire editing process after as well? Like where is the time
exactly
backlogged primarily?
It's all of the prep, exactly like you said, Angela, because one, you need the samples made, right? So pre-planning, all of that is physically made and ready to go. All of it's shot or brought to the right location so it can be shot. The models are booked, the studio's booked, everyone's like there, right? Stylists, everyone's there on set. And then post-production that needs to happen after too. So just the entire planning, booking, actual photo shoot process, and then post-production, you need to plan it way in advance to make it happen.
Wow.
And when it comes to the actual product, let's say there's a customer that wants to start showcasing some pieces, some clothing on models. Do they upload pictures of the clothes and then that gets added to the AI models? How does it actually work?
Yes. So this was something that was really important to me too when we were building Flock in the way that we are, right? You can give us any input. Sometimes brands have CADs that they give us, right? They don't even want to make a physical sample. We're able to take that, digitize, and place on a model. Sometimes in a factory, right? Some of our bigger brands, they're asking one of their factory managers to just take one piece off, put it onto a dress form, take a couple iPhone photos or, camera photos, send them over to us. Tech packs, that's another big one that we work with. If you want to visualize, right, your product before it's ever been produced too, we can use that. So a lot of different inputs that we can take in. It does not have to be on model. It does not have to be, a very specific ghost mannequin shot, nothing like that. We've made it really flexible for brands to give any kind of input in. And that's because I've seen before, right? The workflows vary so much for brands, retailers, licensees, all of them have different inputs that they're capable of providing.
That's crazy. So like sometimes it doesn't even have to be like a finished good. It could be like a CAD of the physical like product. And it could go from like CAD all the way through to like something on a mannequin image. Yeah. That's crazy. That's amazing.
That's amazing because I guess they can try and sell it and generate demand even before the thing is on the shelf, right? Or manufactured.
Yes.
Okay.
What's cool is we work with a lot of licensees. So these are guys that, license like Bluey, Disney, Marvel, all of that, right? They actually use us to create this imagery to then get retailers to buy into that SKU. So they're kind of, building the vision to life to get, Walmart, Target, whoever else to actually buy into that SKU. So that's like a really interesting use case that we've seen of what Flock can provide too, outside of just the, hey, I'm like selling all these products, let me get on model images. There's so many places in the entire kind of value chain that we can come in and help them out too.
So I'm like so curious about how you came to this insight. I think when I met you and your co-founder, there was like it was a more focus on beauty. How did you guys come into, like this insight into creating, what Flock is, what Flock started off as and where it is today? Yeah.
No, absolutely. You hit it perfectly. We were beauty focused before, right? And that's because us personally, we felt that pain point of never really seeing the skin tones that matched us on a beauty website. We really felt like that is maybe the way in, right? But best thing is we put it out there. We talked to a lot of people and got feedback, and basically beauty was a bit slower to adopt it. There's also a bit more technical problems that need to be solved there that are research type problems, right? A lot more around skin tone mixing, shade accuracy, much more research-based problems that need solutions in the beauty space that makes it harder to work in that space right now. We still do work with several beauty brands, especially like hair care, skin care, showing, swatches on the model's face, holding it in her hands. But as soon as we kind of got fashion into the mix, right, and started having those chats, the adoption rate, the interest, the willingness to just take on this tech was so much higher. So
I love this story because I think a lot of first time founders, they see like a 20-year success and they're like, oh, they started off that way or something. And it's like, no, they didn't. They probably started like with like one small thing and then it probably morphed into something like totally different. Yes. And you kind of gain the insight as you're on the journey, as opposed to like right before or something like that.
Exactly. And I think when we first met too, it was pure image creation, right? But
yeah,
having been in the space, and two, as we chat more with our brands and get the feedback, creating images is one part of it, but how do you use the images? How do you figure out which images work best for you, right? That's the whole kind of end-to-end system that we've now built out with Flock too. So switching images for different customers, using them across your meta ads. And then my favorite part, visual analytics. I used to struggle with this too at Bloomingdale's. Why did one image perform better than another? Why did one campaign perform better than another? Is it really serious models like we think, right? Do we want everyone staring off camera, right? Like what actually works? And it was really hard to go after a learning agenda before, because again, like we spoke about, you cannot possibly shoot on every variation of merchandising, styling, expression, background. But with Flock, you actually can. And with our visual analytics, we can actually help you understand, right? With data coming from your website, from Meta, hey, smiling models are actually performing better for you for add to cart and checkout. On Meta, having dynamic backgrounds and posing, it's leading to better click-through and CPAs. And then you can actually start creating better performing imagery with Flock with those insights. Ultimately, your creative team gets the final say, but they have so much more data to work with as they're making those decisions.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I'm sure for different types of brands and their target markets, what hits it for that target customer could be different. And so if you could provide those data insights in real time, and then they can update the imagery of the models, that's a very powerful thing, right? For the brand.
Absolutely. Yes.
And where are you seeing like the different use cases for how someone is using your imagery? Is it like mainly ads right now? Like, is it like for their website? Is it for like prototyping something and using it in a sale? Or is it like kind of it's like across the board right now, and you're still like figuring that part out?
Yeah. So right now, I would say majority, like 80%, it's actually e-com PDPs right on the website. And I love saying this because for a lot of
PDPs, are those like the images for that?
On the website itself, when your product description page, so like the website, actually when you click in and you're shopping, right?
Yeah.
And I love saying that because for the majority of image creators, when you speak with them, please ask them if they've ever had their image published on the website page, the PDP page, because it is really hard. If something looks slightly off, that image is not going live on your PDP because it will affect conversion, return rate, right? It's that point of decision making for the customer. And unless it is perfect, that brand is not going to put it on there. So for the majority of other image creators, their content is used in more short-lived channels. For example, meta ads, right? You see it, it's gone. It's like, you're clicking through, that's it, right? Or marketing places. So yes, our content is used there too, just because we give them full usage rights, any channels, right, that they want to use it. But people are coming in, seeing the quality and saying, I need this to supplement or add, or, I need to get this live in 2 weeks. I can't do a photo shoot, right? And it's really going on the website.
I feel like that's actually like one of the highest compliments you can get, actually.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna be on the website. So congrats on that. That's like super cool.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I have so many screenshots of our products lives on websites. I'm like, this makes me so happy.
And what I find really interesting, going back to the founding team, is that you came from a background where you saw the problem whilst you were working at Bloomingdale's, and you're kind of like the domain expert that knows about the problem, and you partnered up with a technical co-founder whilst you were outside of tech initially, right? How did you find your co-founder? What was that journey like?
And by the way, like for context, before we do that, like we've met like other people who are kind of in industry and they have an idea and they're witnessing the problem like deep in industry, and they want to bring something to life, but they're not sure how. And so I feel like the fact that
Yeah.
you've been able to successfully get there, like it's like an amazing thing to
Yeah.
see.
And also, I think we're moving into a world where domain experts need to develop automated versions of their workflows. So there's an opportunity there for domain experts, but a lot of people in the world, when they're trying to figure out their workflow and how they could automate it and potentially, you know, start a business around it, they need to find who's going to be their technical counterpart if they don't know how to code and like do the software side. So I thought, yeah, this is a good context to the question.
Yeah. Okay, you're gonna hate my first answer, but then I'll try to give a better answer.
No, but you know what? It's the real answer. So
yeah. I found her a business school, so you know, that's where we met. That's where we connected. We both were, you know, going around speaking passionately about what we were interested in, entrepreneurship, right? And one, you know, the skill sets that were complementary, both interested in retail and e-com, and that's really how we got connected, right? And she was also passionate about the problem because she's seen it from the consumer side, right, where she's experienced it, not having seen imagery that really helps her feel confident purchasing online, on all of that. So that's really how we got together. But I know that's not feasible for everyone to take that as a solution. But what I would say is to attract the technical co-founder, right? They need to see some proof of concept that you've been able to get this far, right? Even for me, when I brought my co-founder, Malvika is her name, on board, I already had an MVP version of what I was doing, right? It was on Figma, it had, you know, Shopify links and like Google Form, like something was there. And I think that
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Even though like you were like not technical, you came from like the industry, you were like, I'm gonna like learn this no matter what. Like this is happening no matter what.
I mean, there's so much you can do now with no code platforms, right? Like Bubble and Typeform integrations and just having a Figma that's live, that's clickable, and you can track through what people are doing. You don't need the entire app built out to test it, right? You can have it on Figma with like click-throughs and see if people are engaging, what's happening. There's so much you can do before you need to actually go out and get that technical co-founder or team, right? That shows that you validated the problem, that shows that there's a need around it. And I think that makes them confident too to come on board. And then, yeah, a bunch of resources out there. You know, shout out to AI Furnace, right? I would say that's where you can also go to find your technical co-founder. But yeah, any resources like that you can join, right? That will put you in front of technical team members, a lot of things like that in New York, right? I constantly meet people like that now that I'm going to different events, part of different organizations. So that's really important. And then, of course, I think people know like YC Co-Founder Match, Co-Founders Lab. There's like a bunch of organizations like this that are designed to help you find your co-founder. But I think the biggest thing is if you can show that proof of concept and that you've done the work, right? Like I don't have the technical co-founder shouldn't be kind of the excuse for, you know, not having taken the step forward. Validate the idea. That I think really sells it to anybody that you might want to bring on to.
Yeah, I actually think that like some of the most compelling founders that we've met, they're on their journey no matter what, whether you're with them or not. And it's like a train that's moving. And it's like, are you gonna try to join them or support them or something? Or they're going no matter what. And so those are like some signs I think of like some compelling founders that are, whether it's like on the more technical side or GTM side, they're making moves like no matter what, and they're trying to attract the same kind of like vibes to them as well.
Absolutely. And there's so many dev shops now too. I forgot to mention this as an add-on. So many resources that are like, we'll get you to MVP within, 8 weeks, right? And you don't need to be technical. So a lot of resources like that too are popping up now, and they'll do a little bit of like no code, tools plus like a little bit of personalization. So there's so much now that I think will get you to a point, right, where you can raise or find that co-founder or show proof of concept, basically.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good to think of it as getting the technical co-founder comfortable with the fact that there is some sort of product market fit here, and you've done some initial discovery and validation, like you said. And we've heard of founders who either get letter of intent or design partnerships, or even potentially some paid customers even before the product is built. So it just takes that mindset of doing your side of it as a non-technical co-founder to get the sale in the door, and doing that as much as early as possible, right? That's very convincing.
Absolutely.
Could you, Vita, could you share more about how you found your first customer? I'm like so curious about this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, same answer, business school. I was a part of a bunch of, retail clubs, beauty club, entrepreneurship club, and kept putting it out there, right? But I think this is the biggest thing. We did not hide that we were working on this. It could crash and burn, yes. And I think a lot of people, want to maybe put it in the background a little bit until things are more proven out. But we were just so open about, we want feedback. We're trying this, like anyone that we can speak to, right? I've had some friends, for example, when they were starting something, they made an email blast chain to everyone in their contacts from even like decades ago and said, hey, I'm building this, like anyone that I should talk to, can you let me know, right? Like any way that you can tap into your network, that first partner, right? It really helps if you have that referral come in through someone that someone trusted, right? They're willing to take that bet on you, invest the time and effort to work with you too, right? To build your product out a little bit more. So that's really how we got our first partner in. And then of course, be willing to, maybe have them do it for free, design partnerships, thing, right? And as you're figuring it out and there's bugs and they're giving you feedback, but just be really organized about how you want the partnership to be, right? Hey, can we meet X amount of times? This is our timeline of what we're thinking, right? For the first few weeks, we want to test this with you. This is what we'll need from you. This is what we'll provide back. And then this is what we'd like feedback on. The more you can kind of tell them, right, how things will go and take it off their plate and really just have them focused on the product and what you need back, I think that really helps too.
Yeah.
And were you trying to get them to start paying from the beginning, or were you okay with, in your particular journey, were you okay with doing it for free initially and then trying to develop that into a paid contract?
Yeah, no, especially for us in the beginning, we did a lot of design partnerships. So that was also the big thing for the design partnerships, though, was I need as much data as you will give me. So as much as you can give me, about, anything you can pull from your Shopify, any other tools that you use, like I want full access to be able to understand how my images perform, how my, personalization tech performs, all of that, right? So we did do a lot of stuff for, basically no cost in the beginning, but they know that they're not grandfathered in forever, right? If they want to keep using your technology, eventually they'll have to turn into paying partners. And as soon as you have a couple names, right, that momentum really helps too. So that's really how we kind of snowballed it up, couple design partners. Then pricing is also a big journey. We were definitely undercharging, right, for the first couple months until we figured out where do we stand in the market, what's our pricing power, what are we offering. So that's kind of how we progressed along as we went.
And when it comes to founder-led sales, were you doing a lot of content on like socials, or was it a lot of B2B outreach? How were you going about getting the word out there even more?
Yep. Interestingly, my co-founder is the LinkedIn influencer. We're not sure how, but every time she posts, it's like thousands and thousands of views. So that was some of our first kind of channels, right, of getting just more of what we're building and what we're doing and how we're thinking about the AI space and how Flock fits in out there a little bit more. And then the rest of it is I come from the industry, so that really helps, right? So years of working in retail, my connects in the space, our advisors that are, at some of the major retailers like TikTok, CVS, Net-a-Porter. So it really helps having that network around us too. That led to a lot of the inbounds. And then a shout out to New York Fashion Tech Lab. You guys probably know about it, but it is an annual program, and you pitch, get selected in by retailers, and it puts you in front of some of the largest retailers and brands in the world to co-develop your tech and, optimally then launch pilots with them. But that really opened a lot of doors too. There was just a lot of press and partnerships around it, and it really put us in front of some major retailers like Tapestry and Selfridges and stuff like that.
That's
Awesome.
like super cool, because I feel like that doesn't exist in like every industry. And I feel like that is really cool because you can co-build with the industry, giving you kind of feedback as you're building out your thing. And it's almost like, further validation that you're on the right track, and that you're building something people like actually want.
Yep, absolutely. That I will always keep shouting out New York Fashion Tech Lab. It was an amazing program.
And Vita, you came to the AI Hot 100 conference a few months ago. This was in 2024, our first one. And I remember when we were getting you to do the demo, you were saying you were preparing one anyway for Vogue Business Fashion Futures.
Yes.
How was that event? Like, how did you get that, and was it useful?
Yeah, New York Fashion Tech Lab. So it was through a Vogue editor actually, who has a partnership with New York Fashion Tech Lab. So she invited a couple of the vendors that she saw at New York Fashion Tech Lab to be featured at Vogue Business Futures, and I loved it. It was such a targeted event, right? So it just put us in front of these leading fashion houses and retailers, and they were coming to the event knowing that these solutions would be represented there. They were coming in with the mindset of wanting to find AI solutions. So we loved it. We also got so much valuable feedback right then and there, because we had a little demo version of Flock too, right? So they could play around, experience it. And yes, that event has led to a lot of just chats that are still ongoing with some really great brands and retailers.
That's amazing.
Awesome. So I think this is a perfect segue. Like, we've heard so much, and I think it's the perfect time to show the viewers how some of the AI models look. So I'll just pull up the demo. Well, this is not really a demo, right? This is more, I guess, imagery. Let's go through the imagery.
Yeah. Is it showing on your side too, Bunsen, now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
So these are all generated from your platform, right?
Exactly. So like we spoke about before, any input that you give us, tech pack, on model image, lay flat, these are some of our Flock models that are across ages, genders, body shapes. We've built an AI for all algo that can basically capture any demographic of model, right? And create a virtual brand ambassador just for your brand. And then after that, it really becomes kind of the creative playground for your team. So you can see here, right, same product styled in so many ways, just different brand aesthetics, brand DNAs. Every image can look different according to your brand guidelines and needs.
That's amazing. And how deep can it go? Can you, I guess some of the parameters would be like skin color, age. Is it stuff like height and things like that as well?
Yeah. What are like the inputs that kind of go into creating some of these like images?
Yeah. So model wise, right? Because we started in beauty, we actually got really good at creating models. So even down to yeah, I was like, yeah, there's a good silver lining to everything. So some of the beauty brands, for example, right, they would want us to create certain skin textures even, and hyperpigmentation and plump lips versus thin, or eyebrow shapes and eye colors. So it allowed us to get really good at creating models, which was again a unique seller point for Flock when we started having conversations and heard from brands that sometimes it takes months for them to get a custom model from any other image creator. So I've made 6'5", shaggy hair with tattoos, right? For some of my brands, when they have a very rocker kind of vibe that they want to go for. And these are your virtual brand ambassadors just for your brand that no other brand can hire. So it's really cool because you get that, unique brand aesthetic, that vibe, and they are solely for your brand too. So they really become the face of your brand, which brands
Yeah.
have brands.
Oh, so it's almost like an avatar that they can kind of like create who is going to represent, like visually look, who's going to be wearing the clothes, and then you like,
yes.
I don't know what the process is after that. Yeah.
Yep. And then so they can control everything from top to end. First part is always, how do you want your model to be, right? Second part is, what is your brand DNA? So what is your background, your lighting, your camera angle, your brand aesthetic? So this means that even if two brands come in with the exact same product, the final image would look really different because of their brand DNA algorithms that we create for them. And then after that, it's really the creative team kind of giving the inputs in. And this was another big thing for me, but it's the same workflow as when you set up a photo shoot. So, a request, right? A photo request. Hey, for this product, this model styled with these jeans and this boot, doing this kind of an action, right? That's basically how we would do photo shoots before, and set up like a shot request that then the photographer would go execute. So they give us the exact same thing, nothing new compared to what they've had to do before, and we can go execute on that just using AI now.
Sure. And is it like is it like a prompt whereby they can put in certain instructions of what they want to see, and then it gets generated, or is there like a human in the loop element as part of that as well?
So that's the cool part. And another reason that brands love working with us, you do not have to figure out prompting. You never have to say, if I put light brown suede versus dark brown, what happens, right? Nothing like that. It is truly the same process as setting up a photo shoot now. So you will go into Flock and you will tell me, Vita, I want Mary as my model, right? You've made her for me. I have all your products, right, set into Flock, or I have a bunch of open source kind of products, right, that you can style with. Same as a photo shoot, where I might just pull from our closet of generic, clothing items that I can style with. And then you say, Mary, wearing my sweatshirt. It's literally a click and drag interface, wearing my sweatshirt with these jeans, white sneakers, and the line item is like that. And you say submit. So it's something that they're used to doing already, how they operate already. No prompting, no, regenerations like that involved, nothing like it. They simply give us a photo shoot request. We create it. Pops up in their dashboard. We even do post editing. So if they're like, I want to kind of push her hair back a little, or can the skirt be, 2 inches longer? We'll take care of that for you too.
Awesome. And I think, Angela, did you want to say anything? I think you might have had a question, right?
No, I mean, I just think, that is like so crazy, because I'm even thinking about, I don't know, like I really love like Vans as a brand, and they do a lot of like skateboard kind of like shoots and kind of stuff like that. Do you guys do things like that? I know that movement is like kind of different than like a model movement or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. So we only kind of offer the technology when we feel really confident in the quality being good enough that it can be put on your PDP. That's kind of the bar that I hold everything to. So brands are always they're asking me for videos now, and they're asking me for like so much more, right? We've only started releasing the type of images that you've mentioned, Angela, and that's because before studio and your brand DNA, right? We know what the lighting will be, what the environment will be, how the clothing will look in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Because of previous images you've given us and how we can learn on it. But now, what will it look like if they're in a skateboard park, if they're walking around New York City?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we took a long time to focus in on that accuracy and developing that technology. It's only something we've actually released in the last few months, but it's totally possible now. We've made images where models are, on a golfing, like they're out golfing, right, on the field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or they're on a tennis court. So much more dynamic situations, posing, and we're able to take care of relighting the clothing, making sure it's still accurate when they're in motion. But it was a really big tech initiative for us before we released it out.
Do you have any plans to move into video content as well, or are you purely focusing on image?
So yes, it is in the pipeline, just because every single customer we learn from them, right? That's what drives the product development timeline too. But yes, that is the goal. Will we release it until we feel really confident? No, but that is absolutely the goal. But when you're looking at an image, right, it's one still that you need to keep the product accurate, lit well, versus a video, hundreds of frames, right, that you need to keep it consistent in. So it's a much different challenge, and that's also why general image creators, like anything that you might use out there, the clothing changes. If you see throughout the video, like patterns distort and things move around, right? But unless you're building for this vertical, right, with the product accuracy in mind, it's really hard to get that video of the outfit out and with enough quality that a designer is willing to put it on their product page. So it is in the timeline, but it's not something that we have right now.
This is like when I saw your demo the first time, I just thought it just like looked so cool, and like the application of AI was just so like the use of it was just so interesting, because I think me and Hamza, like we have like, I have like a little bit of a retail background, but
Yeah.
Most people don't think about these types of use cases, I think, when you like think about AI necessarily. So I think like that is really cool. Given how kind of cutting edge the tech you're developing is, how do you like stay up to date with like all the recent developments and keeping your tech stack like the most cutting edge? Because I mean, this is about like being more advanced than where the current market is, and advancing with the technology to like bring this to the next level. Yeah.
I mean, kudos to my co-founder, right? For doing a lot of this. But I know some of the things that she really focuses on is, this girl's on Reddit all the time. She's always on these like forums, right, where people are speaking about new ways that they can utilize the tech, things that they've tested out. She's just very deep into that space and loves, learning from everyone that's posting there and being active. So that's something I know that she's a big part of. I would just get Reddit posts from her at like 3 a.m. when she's like, right? The other big thing is, when we do see a new release that comes out, we like to jump on it. We want to take it and see how we can fine tune this, how we can incorporate it into our workflows. So if you see how we created images even 2-3 months ago versus now, it's a very different tech stack and a very different custom workflow compared to before. And AI is just moving so fast that that's important. And I think our willingness to always be adapting, fine tuning, taking it right, and being able to put our spin on it is really key. And then the second really big thing is our customers. They direct how we build, what challenges that we should be looking at, right? Some of the, like we were chatting about before, Angela, some of the bigger partners that we've brought on, right? Yeah. They're giving us their development goals for the next year and what they want to be focusing on too. So that really helps us figure out, where do we invest the time and energy, right? Which should we be looking at? What should we be focused on? Like, what data sets should we get? How do we start building the solution for them? So those are some of the key ways that we stay up in this crazy space that's changing every day.
Yeah. What I kind of like is that you're like co-building it with partners, and they're like literally telling you like, hey, like where's the video function? Like you need to have this. Like these are the latest trends. Like are you using this latest model? Like they're kind of like co-building it with you, and I feel like that's really great to hear from a founder that is like coming from industry, I think, and is like a really good sign of like some kind of like PMF for sure.
Yeah, I think it's so important, because I think that's where you can develop your moat even more. It's actually more about being close to the customer and developing out the user experience and whatever they want before anyone else, right? And when you create that closeness and you create that tight kind of market fit with that customer base, that's actually a moat in itself, even on top of staying on top of the technological developments and implementing them into the product. So I think that's a very good example of, in a practical way, how founders can think about moats as well, right?
Yep. No, I love the way you framed it, Hamza. I'm going to use that exactly when I have to go pitch next time. So yes.
Talking about funding, Angela, you had a question about funding, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're both women in AI, and I know women are typically like underfunded in venture capital. What do you think helps you and your co-founder like overcome like this funding hurdle that women typically go into? I think I do know like a number of women in AI that it's difficult just because of some of the biases and stuff like that there. What do you have any advice for how women can kind of overcome that?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I definitely don't need to reiterate this, data point. But I think it's what, less than 2%, right?
It's something crazy. It's like less than 2% or something. And you guys are a full female founded team, which is like incredible.
Yep. So it's all about finding that right investor, because this is a lifelong relationship, honestly, right? Like optimally building for the next 10 plus years, which is the goal.
Yeah.
So a lot of no's for sure. That happened constantly. A lot of no's for sure. A lot of, maybe male VCs that we spoke to being like, let me go talk to my wife or my daughter and see if this is something that they would enjoy. And it's like, sir, you also shop online. You do not look like the model. I know that this is like a challenge for, a universal challenge, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Honestly, that's kind of a telltale right there, right? Like if they don't understand the problem and what you're building, how will they, if they're coming in at the earliest stage, right, be able to kind of guide and support as you continue growing and building out and going through future rounds? So it really is finding that right yes, and also being willing to stand back, right, if that investor is not the right fit for you too. So we had to say no to some investors because of where they thought we should take Flock, or how their like vision of the market compared to what we had. So it was a lot of no's, but shout out to Bailey and Outlander, right? They were our in. And after that first yes, especially when you have the lead in, it kind of compounds. But no, it was not easy. I think, must have had at least like 50 rejections and 50 plus calls before we got to that first yes, right? Over hundreds of months. Or wait, why did I say that? Over several months. It felt like hundreds of months in my head, I guess. But I think the biggest thing is our superpower is that we are just coming from the space. Like we know it so intimately. When you put me in front of a brand retailer, like the person that I'm selling to, I sat in their seat, right, a couple of years ago. So I just totally understand what they're going through and what the needs are. And that's something that the investor, that Outlander, right, that put in the first check, just recognized so deeply of, if you lived and breathed this, like you will just understand how this needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like any superficial rebuttals that they might have. It's like, no, that's like absolutely not true. Yeah. Like I've lived and breathed this. Like this is a problem. Like whether you believe it or not, like this is an industry problem.
Yeah.
And I think this goes to like Hamza's point, and we actually really believe in this, but that vertical AI and industry experts who know the problems deeply can be really successful in creating AI companies. Because they know like the deep pain points and how this new technology can be used to solve it. And it's, I think it depends on the product. Like some products have like a really strong technical moat. Some are, it's just solving a problem. It doesn't have to be about tech. It's just like, how can I solve the problem that people are facing? That's what I really enjoyed hearing about in your story today.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Thank you, Angela. But also what's cool is we actually like it if a brand has tried another image creator before, because then when they work with us, they see the difference. They see the difference in the work. Yeah, the final result, the workflow, everything. And they're like, oh, it's like light bulb goes off. So, and that's always the biggest compliment for us, when it's like, okay, we're understanding, we're building in a way that's actually solving their problems. But yeah, that I think was one of the biggest things, that we just didn't go after, a bright, shiny area, right? It was something that was so deep to us and our understanding, and a want to solve something that was a personal pain point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to AI products, there is that balance between getting the product in the hands of a customer so early that they just see something that is not so good, and then they think that the AI just isn't ready for this industry or isn't good enough. And then, some of them get put off. So I think it's very interesting, like talking about at what level do you actually start presenting to customers, but making sure that you have cracked it to some extent that's good enough before you go to them. So one of the, before we wrap up, one final question we'd love to ask, and which we ask all of the founders on the podcast, is what do you think is the future of AI in your industry, and in this case, fashion?
Yeah. I mean, this is a learning from all the brands that I've worked with, right? They view, initially there was a lot of kind of trepidation, right, around AI and what it could mean, and, what is it going to result in? But what's really cool is now as we work with our brands more, they are all speaking about how AI is not just like a cost cutting or efficiency measure. It's really their like partner in crime, right? It's enabling them to actually go after their full creative vision in a way that they've never been able to before. Before they were like, oh, how many models, or like, do I have to cut down? I can't fly them to Bali, right? Like, they always had to kind of temper down the ultimate number of images, creative vision based on physical budget constraints. And
that's so crazy. I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Yeah.
They probably have like these huge visions, but like because of how costly some things are, they're just like, we can't pursue that because we don't have like enough budget or something like that.
Exactly. Or, being able to create hyper-personalized experiences. Somebody shopping the same dress in New York versus LA, or, a lot of personalization tools, right? Their style aesthetic. Like, can we show a different image that has that dress styled with a model wearing boots and a trench versus the same dress with heels, right? Based on what about the customer. There's so much with the creative vision, the capabilities, the hyper-personalization that is just augmenting the creative process that I get really excited about, because I've seen it come to life already with the partners that we've worked with and the feedback we've gotten back from them.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So to wrap up, if people want to reach out to you after listening to the podcast, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah. So, honestly, email me, vita@flockshop.ai. Our website is flockshop.ai. And I don't have Twitter, I guess that, or X as they call it now, but I will make sure I get that. So it will just be Vita Mallela once I make it. But you can honestly just email me and also check out our website at flockshop.ai.
Thanks, Vita, for joining us on the AI Hot 100 podcast. Really appreciate it.
So thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.